cup's full. And nothing I say or do is going to bring my brother back, but we do have justice for him. And that's a long time coming. And I certainly hope this sends a message to the public that the justice system does work. And let's make it work and keep these guys off the street from harming anybody else. And I just hope that everyone will have a good Thanksgiving and just take this in memory of my brother, because he was larger than life to me and larger than life to a lot of other people. And his faith showed through everything that he did. No matter what he did, whether he's at work, whether he's at church, whether he's on the street, he always had a kind word to anybody, and he would share his faith with anybody. And I think that's the most important thing, is having faith in a world that we live in now.
This was a very long trial. What helped give you the strength every day to be here in the courtroom and, to go through this entire trial and everything with your family?
Simple. Just the good Lord above. He's given us all strength, to get by in such trying times. Trying to be good is not easy. It's really not. But giving back is something that you can't replace, and you don't know from day to day, what's going to happen to you or what's going to happen to your family. You just have to keep the faith and be strong.
David, can I ask you something real quick?
Sure.
It's kind of a two-part question. Mr. Connors was defiant, even as the judge was trying to sentence them. And as he was walking out, he said something to you. I'd like to know what you thought of what he said to you. How did you respond? And then the second part of my question is finding it somewhere within to be able to forgive, as you did during your victim impact statement.
As he was leaving the courtroom, he looked at me and he told me, he said, "I didn't kill your brother." Well, a man has already been sentenced to life without parole. He knows what he did. And as far as what I think about it, I looked at him, I said, "I still forgive you." And I still feel that way right now. And, we have to, because we have to go on. Because a lot of things will build up on it and it will gnaw at you until the day you die. But you have to let it go, and you have to live your life as you see fit, trying to be the best. I try to be the best husband, try to be the best father that I possibly can to my wife and kids, and try to keep a business open. Sure, we're old school, but we still try to do good for the community and still offer a good product. Still got the best hamburger in Charlotte.
The judge seemed particularly sympathetic with you. He mentioned that his dad is also a twin. What did you think of that reaction from the judge?
That was a surprise that almost took me by surprise. I'm not going to lie to you, I teared up. And it's something to be sympathetic towards a person that lost a brother or a sister, but to someone that's lost a twin and can understand what it is to lose a twin. And that is part of your soul, and you're losing part of your soul. But just to hear that from the judge was very, very comforting to me and my family.
David, how do you and your family move on from here? What does that look like? I know you said you got justice, but where do y'all go from here?
We're just gonna take the rest of this week off and give thanks just like everyone else is. But we're no different from anybody else, and we know we have to go on, and we're all gonna go on. I've got so much support between my family and the community, especially the NODA community. No, I'm not gonna leave. I'll be right back next Monday and just can't wait to wait on everybody.
How do you want your brother to be remembered other than this trial? Since this has gotten so much attention, what do you want people in the community to remember the most about him?
I'm sure everyone's seen the video of what my brother did. I hadn't said anything about this before, but my daughter, of course, she's the manager over there. She was right behind my brother coming to work that morning. Out of everything my brother did, he knew that. And he knew that he was going to have to calm this situation and do something. And at the very, very last minute, you saw what he did. He lost his life because he loved his family. And he did not want anything to happen to my daughter. And that's just kind of man my brother was. And I don't think there's a whole lot else I can say about that.
I just have one more question. The jury, as Hunter pointed out to me, did not hear the part about their prior criminal history. But you could tell, what did you see on their face when the DA was going through that list and then the judge went through that list? What did you see on their face?
It was just symptomatic with them. I mean, it's absolutely, they didn't care about, what they were hearing. They knew what they did. And, it was just something that they're part of this system, but the wrong part of the system. And it's just something that they've got the rest of their lives to think about.
You said the jurors.
Yeah, what did you see the jury did you see the jury's face when they were reading through their
Oh,
prior
I'm sorry.
criminal
Yes,
history?
yes, I did. Yeah.
What did you see, or any of y'all? What did you see on their face when because that's not anything. They were just hearing that for the first time.
They were, but they were just privy to so much information, just like we were before the trial. You don't want any information like that to get out. But I saw the look on their faces, and I think they knew from that point that they made the right decision.
How relieved are you that this was such a quick verdict?
Pardon?
How relieved are you that the jury came back so quickly for you all?
Well, when they came back and they had 3 or 4 questions, I said, well, maybe this is going to last longer than what we think. But when they got all their ducks in a row, or their cards in a row, and understood everything that was in front of them, they made a fair and impartial decision, and they made the right one.
David, thank you. Thank you, entire family.
Thank you all.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Some emotional comments, obviously, from Mr. Brooks and his family standing alongside of him. Had not heard him talk about so candidly, obviously, the actions from Scott Brooks that morning, protecting his daughter. And, of course, he adding to that, they didn't have much else to say, saying that the actions spoke for themselves that morning. We do want to go through some of the biggest events when the trial started. So go with me here as we go through some of this information. Now, on November 13th, which is really when the heart of the trial started, we had Detective Blair Fitch testify about those moments. And she had kind of talked about that she was with CMPD. She processed the interior of the Brooks Sandwich House, and she told jurors that day that the business showed no signs of a break-in or robbery, and more than $3,000 was still inside. Very unusual. Scott Brooks was shot and killed outside of the restaurant in the early morning hours of December 19th, 2019, and that was set in stone, obviously, by Detective Blair Fitch and her testimony on the 13th of November. Now, there were no eyewitnesses. Investigators say they relied on cell phone tower data, and that led them to a woman identified as the mother of Terry Connor's child. Her DNA was found on a bullet casing at the scene. Her home was then searched. No evidence was recovered from that home. There was another home associated, though, with Connor that was searched, apparently, and there they found several other bullet casings in a bag behind a refrigerator, leading them to that evidence. So, yes. Now, moving on to the body camera footage that was presented in court on the 13th as well. So we saw body camera video following the search warrant. Investigators testifying that day that they found dozens of personal items belonging to Staples in the home. That included mail, some documents, even a wedding album. Investigators say the home was furnished. It had Staples' clothes in it and other items that indicated that that was the home that he lived in, despite his ID having a different address. So investigators had to do their work, obviously, to not only find the residence, but obviously put the evidence and the pieces together. They found ammunition, 2 commercial money counters, a fake police badge, zip ties, and black duct tape. The defense says at the end that no DNA evidence actually connects this crime to the Brooks Sandwich House murder case. So some interesting revelations on the 13th. We fast forward then to the 17th of November when the prosecution calls a DNA expert. And so the prosecution, they called several DNA experts actually who testified that it was likely that Terry Connor's DNA was found on bullet shell casings recovered from the December 2019 shooting death of Scott Brooks. Then adult correction officers, they took the stand that day, testifying about their roles in probation and parole, describing how offenders are required to provide contact information, including phone numbers and addresses. Now, this goes back to both Connors and Staples having prior arrests and records with law enforcement as well. So that's what that goes to. Both Stephen Staples and Terry Connor provided phone numbers and addresses of family members or partners as contacts during their probation time. One officer actually recalled that Stephen Staples, he was not given an address and efforts to search for him, but defense attorneys pointed out that day that that doesn't automatically mean that a violation occurred. So there was some squabbling about that incident that kind of precluded itself in court. So that's what happened on the 17th. We move now to the next day on the 18th. The mother of the defendant, Terry Connor's child, says that he admitted to her that he killed a man at a Noda restaurant in December of 2019. Connor, along with Stephen Staples, they're both accused, of course, of killing Brooks. Now, she says she met Terry in 2019 and she began pregnant soon after they met. She says Terry had an extremely close relationship with Stephen Staples, the other defendant in this case. Her Rock Hill home then was searched by police in March of 2020. She gave police DNA, access to her phone, and agreed to answer questions, which is part of that interrogation that was shown to the jury in the court. She testified that day that she was not as forthcoming with information at first to police because she didn't want anything bad to happen to Connor, obviously relating back to the relationship that they both had. In that specific interview, she said that Connor told her he killed a man at the Noda restaurant and didn't want to give up any money and then got rid of the gun. She says to detectives later that she realized after seeing the news coverage of Scott Brooks' death that it was connected to what Connor told her. The detectives then said that her DNA was found on the bullet casing at the Brooks scene. She insisted she was never at the restaurant and was not with Connor that morning. Now on the 20th, digital forensic experts took the stand that Thursday and testified about cell phone data from phones that were actually linked to people associated with Terry Connor and Stephen Staples. One number showed interactions between the woman that Terry Connor shares a child with and at least 4 different numbers. One was saved as Terry and showed more than 1,300 interactions between October of 2019 through December 8th of 2019, just one day before the actual shooting. A new number that appeared on December 9th, the day that Scott Brooks was killed, continued through December 18th of 2019, and it was saved under TJ. 2 more new numbers saved under TJ showed interactions in 2020. The state also presented a chart showing multiple numbers saved as husband and communications between those numbers and the wife of co-defendant Stephen Staples spanning from 2019 to 2020. The jury then was given packets of data retrieved from those phones to go over and review. The final phase of this, just last Friday, we take you back to that. The trial moved into its final phase, and Jessie Pierre, she broke those developments for us. We're going to listen in to what happened on Friday.
In court, Dr. James Lozano, a forensic pathologist who performed Scott Brooks' autopsy, was the last witness to take the stand in the murder trial against Stephen Staples and Terry Connor. The jury saw photos of Brooks' clothing and diagrams noting his injuries. Dr. Lozano explained that the bullet that entered the front of Brooks' chest traveled downward to his lower back, lodging near his hip bone, is the shot that killed him. Brooks also suffered a gunshot wound to the hand, and a bullet grazed his leg. Dr. Lozano says the injuries were consistent with a .45 caliber bullet.
Do you have an opinion as to how long it would have taken Mr. Scott Brooks to die from this wound?
Minutes.
Do you have an opinion as to how long Scott could have maintained conscious after receiving that injury?
30 seconds to a couple of minutes at most.
And I believe you mentioned this, but do you have an opinion as to whether Mr. Scott Brooks experienced pain when he was shot and killed on December 9th, 2019?
I believe he would have experienced pain, yes.
Both Both defendants declined to testify, and their attorneys will not present any evidence during this trial. Now, the rest of the afternoon was spent going over the legal instruction that the jury will receive on Monday. And come Monday for closing arguments, we will be there at 9 a.m. In Uptown, Jesse Pierre, WCNC Charlotte.
So just to wrap this for everybody that just watched or started to watch from home, we did get a guilty verdict in the Scott Brooks murder trial for both men accused in killing Scott Brooks, of course, at the Noda restaurant in 2019. It sounds like life in prison without the possibility of parole for both men, Terry Connors and the other gentleman that whose name escapes me at this moment. But of course, Jesse Pierre has had the latest for us, and we'll have more tonight on WCNC Charlotte at 11. We did play for you the press conference after the trial wrapped up from the twin brother, Mr. David Brooks, of course, having some very emotional things to say. So if you missed that, we'll have that tonight for you, and right here on WCNC Plus if you'd like to look back at our show. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break and be back right after this.